Lost my mind, now I'm feeling so fine, cause I finally realized I don't need you. I'm feeling sublime, and you're watching me shine, and you realize it's time I don't need you. Now
Hey, Monty, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you doing today, Brooke?
I'm good. How was your week?
My week was great. I um I did a lot of working out and I'm still hurting. How was your week?
I actually got to my consistent point where I am getting a good 20 minutes in, and I got a good 20 minutes in the last 5 days consistently. Actually, I started the week before. The only day that I'm taking off is Sunday. So that's been kind of awesome. Um, Giving myself a little bit more energy, feeling better. I always say working out makes our bodies feel better, not as tired, not as laggy, things like that. Um, did you do anything fun this week with the boys?
Um we did laundry. We went to Costco. We did have fun at Target. And we spent a lot of quality time together with our family. So that was really fun for them. They slept late. I didn't know they were capable of that. So the spring break has really been more so restful, but seeing as how we have summers off at the same time, I figure I could use this week however I want to because we have months coming up together. So
Yeah,
pray for me.
that.
Mm.
So, Heaven Sent is no longer Heaven Sent. It's now Resources in the Valley. Um, we made the change a couple weeks ago from the time that you all will see this broadcast. Um, and just wanted to make a full announcement. It is going to be Resources in the Valley now from here on out. We spoke before of why it was Heaven Sent, and I just wanted to go over briefly about how we why we changed it to Resources in the Valley. You want to elaborate, Imani, or?
Sure. So we were thinking about ways to encompass all the things that we would like to cover. So Heaven Sent was birthed from this idea of our Heaven Sent friendship, which we still have. However, we're looking to produce a podcast that not only covers friendship, but covers business, covers motherhood, and covers a lot of other things that you'll be soon to listen to. So we want to make sure to choose a title that can build our own personal community and a title that can firmly hold the variety of topics that we want to discuss. Did you want to elaborate on that in any way?
Um, just also that Imani gave me this Resources in the Valley a long time ago. She likes to be modest. And I was going through a hard time, and Imani discussed me writing down or starting to write a book as to the steps and things that I do on a daily basis to try to keep a positive attitude, try to keep pushing and things like that. And that pretty much is what this podcast encompasses. We're both mothers, we're both entrepreneurs, we both run a household. We both have other families and friends that we support, and um, different business relationship, friend relationships where we support people. And everything is not always easy all the time. So this podcast is a platform, first of all, to talk about when you do have those trying times, and you're going to get through them the same way we got through them. So we want to be your resource when you're going through things. And sometimes people are in that valley place and they just see no way out. So we want to let you all know that there is always a way out. And we want this podcast to be a great reference and a great resource for those times. Well, moving on to our topic for the day, which kind of goes hand in hand, but our topic for today is growing pains. And we want to talk about growing pains, of course, in business, but just growing pains in general. There's a saying where they talk about teenagers and their bones aching and things like that when they get a certain age. Well, guess what? As you go through life, everything that you go through, there are growing pains. There are new aches. There are new pains. There are new hurdles that you have to get over. And if we start to look at these hurdles as hurdles or a challenge instead of a pain or something that we don't want to deal with, then we'll get over them and we'll get through them easier. We've both had business failures. We've had great businesses, and we've also had failures. My first business was a cleaning service. My first business was a cleaning service. It wasn't because I wanted to start a cleaning service. It was because my mother needed somebody to help her with her business. So I started a cleaning service. After that, I started doing taxes. After that, I ran many businesses, and some of them are open and some of them aren't. And we all have failures. So today we want to talk about those growing pains and how we got through them, how we felt when it happened, and how we eventually got through them. So Imani, do you want to talk about your, like, a business failure or a business faux pas or a time when you thought like, this is over, I can't do this, or this is not it, I need to switch directions? How did you feel when it happened?
Yeah, I'll just start off by briefly saying that discussing growing pains is such an important thing because as a young person, you chart out your future. So it's very, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get a job, I'm going to do this. And it's almost like a beautiful song, and you aren't really told there's going to be growing pains, there's going to be life changes and business changes and different things that are going to impact your plan, and you're going to have to work through those things. So I think a lot of times young people graduate high school or college and then feel like they're just failing adulthood because there's all these different things coming at them, and we feel ill prepared to handle them. So I'm glad that we're talking about this, and hopefully it's a great resource, not just for young people, but I think as adults, you feel like as an adult, it's your job to figure things out, to do all things well, and to keep everything that you start. It's like everything we start, we want to have it with us till we die. And it doesn't really always work that way. And that's a good thing. That's okay. But for me, I'd say, I'd say a tough one for me was like working remotely. A lot of people like being freelancers. And I enjoyed it myself, but I thought that I would be a freelancer at like one particular company forever and ever. And to my surprise, I noticed as years go on, needs change. Like my needs change, with growing my family, and business needs change with like as companies get larger and they have different mergers or different things that they would like to do. And again, just like our lives, sometimes 5 years down the line, what we have going on doesn't fit the vision that we had initially, and we have to make tweaks. So I think that was a difficult time for me to leave a few companies that I really loved. And I think that one thing I gained from it is that you are a person with a skill set, and that skill set can be used in many different places. So sometimes people get really married to this idea or company or even physical location where they live or work, but your skill set is portable, it's transferable. I mean, so if it doesn't turn out to be a good fit for person A or company A, there's company B all the way through Z. So I think that that was an important perspective shift for me from, well, maybe if this isn't a good fit for me, maybe I'm not a good fit anywhere, over to perhaps I can be a good fit anywhere else because the skills that I had that worked for me there, I can then take with me. What's your take on this question about business failure or what I said?
Well, I'm happy that you went the direction that you went because I've had failures, I've had full piles in business, but a lot also comes from personal. And as many people know, I moved to North Carolina in 2014. I lost a couple of people that were close to me in 2013 and 2014. I decided it was time for a change and it was time for me to stop messing around. So I left New Jersey. I stayed in North Carolina for 4 years. I had to come back in 2018 and I did not want to come back. However, our steps are always guided. And a lot of times, like Imani said, we have a plan. So like my plan could have been, oh, stay in North Carolina for the rest of my life and raise my boys and everything's fine and get a house and da 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 da. And that wasn't the plan that God had for me. You know, I came back to New Jersey and I had to reposition myself. And also, but I also had to look at the blessings. So it wasn't only about repositioning myself. I also had to open my eyes and count my blessings and realize that even though I was in a place or a tough situation that I didn't necessarily want to be in, I grew. I grew a lot. I gained wisdom. I realized how valuable I am to some people that I might have not realized I was actually valuable to. Of course, my clients were very happy that I came back and things like that. And then some people were like, oh, you're back. Let's do this. I need you to help me with this. I need you to work on this with me. So it was a blessing, but it wasn't a blessing that I saw. I didn't see it as a blessing. I definitely didn't see it as a blessing. It took me almost 3 to 4 years after I came back to realize that it was actually a blessing. So, I mean, we have to go through those hard times and things like that. But pressure makes diamonds. Pressure makes diamonds. Diamonds, if you don't apply pressure, a diamond is not going to be made. So we have to go through those pressure. We have to go through those uncomfortable periods. Let's talk about our phenomenal woman of the week. Imani is going to tell us more about Miss Maya Angelou. And she is actually the woman who the term phenomenal woman comes from. I'm sure many of you are familiar with her poem, Phenomenal Woman. And we wanted her to be our phenomenal woman of the week. And I'll let you take over, Imani.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to encompass such a legend, but we'll do our best with a small snippet. So our phenomenal woman of the week is Maya Angelou, and as mentioned, we can only give a small glimpse of her career, which spanned over 50 years, but we highly recommend diving into her works for yourself. Maya Angelou was born as Margaret Ann Johnson on April 4th, 1928. Birthday's coming up in a few weeks here, in St. Louis, Missouri, and she lived to be 86 years old. She was a world famous author, poet, dancer, singer, activist, and scholar. She was active in the civil rights movement and worked alongside leaders such as Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. She recited poetry at Bill Clinton's inaugural address and has received numerous awards. Her life brought her all over the world and continues to touch generations today. One takeaway from her life that we have is the wise reminder that we are only restrained from greatness, we're only as restrained from greatness as the box that we put ourselves in. So sometimes it's hard to have various passions and try to build a dream career around them. But Maya Angelou pioneered by thriving in the arts, literature, education, film, transportation as a streetcar driver, when women were barely allowed to do that, as well as whatever she put her mind to. So we hope that her story inspired you as much as it has inspired us.
And Maya Angelou was definitely a woman that went through growing pains, and no matter what, it didn't let her stop. It didn't stop her. So we want to continue with our topic. Let's talk about the effects. The effects of failure. How did you deal with it? How did you restart after a failure?
Yes. Well, we talked about this mindset shift more in previous episodes, so I won't dive in too deep. But I think I was surprised at how much personal work was needed to find the confidence to pursue business in different ways again. So normally, if a venture fails or if a freelancer contract ends, you open up a new one. You just go find another person or another company, just start right back up where you left off. But I think when different changes affect your confidence level and affect your identity, sometimes the work we do is so closely intertwined into who we are that it's hard not to take business failure personal. Sometimes you need to do that work of doing things for fun again, and doing those things that you did as a skill set for work for fun to help regain that confidence. So I think those are some of the things that I did, along with just putting myself back out there and being more of a risk taker. So I got as far as I've come by taking risks. And sometimes when we get knocked down, we want to stop and play it safe. But I've challenged myself to just keep going, because with great risk comes great reward. Yeah. What about you? How'd you?
I definitely agree. Restarting after failure it's always hard. It's always hard. Mindset is the number one thing. Mindset is the number one thing. There are different routines, different regimens, different things that you can do to clear your mind. There are different things that you can do to increase your focus, but your mindset is not there. It won't happen. It won't happen. So yes, I had to increase my confidence. Number one, I had to realize that it's okay to be a superwoman. I don't like when people always call me strong, because I hear it so much. And I don't feel like I'm strong. I feel like I am dedicated to pushing through, but I don't feel like I'm strong. And a lot of times I hear this a lot. I hear it wherever I go. I hear it with people that I don't even see sometimes, like, Brooke, you're so strong. And I'm like, okay. But I had to realize that, you know what, it's okay to be superwoman. Like, it's okay. That might be a gift, and I need to embrace my gifts. I need to make the most out of my gifts. I need to make the most out of who I am. And when we're in a dark place, or we're going through a transition, or we're going through a valley, we tend to forget that. We tend to forget our gifts and the things that have been given to us to allow us to deal with the situations that we're in. So I had to increase confidence. I had to increase my mindset, but I also had to remember who I was. Like, I had to really remember who I was as a child of God, who I was as a child of Lethell and Carol, who I was as Brooke Blaine growing up, who I was as somebody who has experienced things and gotten through them before, so we can get through them again. What did you learn from the failure? What did you learn from any failures that you've been through, Imani?
I think on one hand, it made me have a lot more respect and perspective for women older than me in my world, because like as a child you have a picture that you also have of like your older family members, and I think it just made me think, wow, what did people like my parents, my grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins, like what were they all facing while living through life, you know? And I think of all of their accomplishments, and I know that they did not come easy, but like as a child, we're shielded from all that. So I just was just like kudos to everybody that I know that I got to watch while I was growing up, because um, you know, I don't know, I just think about what it takes to get to 50, 60, 70, 80, and how, you know, I just see the strides that people make, but I don't really see the failure. So it just made me that much more grateful for what I have seen. And on a personal level, um, it really made me want to be more open with my children, about how things change and how we try and put ourselves out there and we find great success, but sometimes we don't always get what we want. And all that means is we have to just keep on trying. So I think that the tendency, especially as a strong Black woman, um, is to appear solid for our children, and also in the world. Like we want to show up in the world as solid. We want to wait to show up until we have it all together. And I think those sorts of things, especially online and in entrepreneurship, it's like, I'll get back to you guys when I'm a bestseller, you know? That's when I'll start talking about what I've been through. But I think it just made me want to show up in a more authentic way, because the reality is that everyone's going to experience failure. So I'd rather equip my boys to know how to navigate it than protect them from seeing mine and have them feel like they should take their failure personal when they're out in the world. What did you learn from yours? Mm-hmm.
I like that. What I learned from failure is that it's not how many times you fail, it's how many times you get up. And it's a quote that we hear a lot, but it is so real. We can get knocked down a million times, but are you just gonna lay there on the ground and just let life pass you by? Are you gonna go crawl up in the bed and eat chocolate all day and sleep through the days and let time pass you by? Are you gonna waste time? Or are you gonna say, you know what, let me get back up, let me get back on my 2 feet, let me take advantage of the time that I have and try again and try again and try again and try again. Some of the most successful people that we know in the world, or that we know of in the world, have failed millions of times. And just because we don't see their failures, we only see their highlight reels, doesn't mean it doesn't happen. God's been speaking to my heart for years, telling me transparency is key. Transparency is key. Brooke, be more transparent. And during my time of failure, or during my time of going through the valley or going through a change or a transition, I realized that I need to be more transparent. And by being more transparent, I'm able to bless somebody else, because once again, we see this facade. We see the makeup. Like, we can talk about makeup, right? Girls put on makeup. They put the line here and the line there, and they look crazy in the process. And then they put something else on and they mix it in. And like, they go through so much to get to that finished product. And if you weren't aware, you wouldn't know. You know, like, a makeup application, a full professional makeup application can take about an hour. I'm sure many women, men, children, I'm sure many people don't know that, you know, but if we limited it to, I only have 15 minutes, or I only have this much time, or it needs to be done for me here, it needs to be done for me there, then it wouldn't happen, you know? So it's something as basic as that. We have to learn to be more patient with ourselves. We have to learn to realize that this is a process. Life is a process. Life is a journey. You're going to keep going through things. You're going to keep having to get through hurdles. You're going to keep having to overcome challenges. So once we get that in our mind, that every day is a challenge that we need to get through, then life becomes easier. You wake up like, you know what? What's my challenge today? What I'm going to do? How I'm gonna do it? How I'm gonna beat it? You know, so you look more for it. And not only do you look more for it, you look forward to conquering it. You know, and I think once we start to look at growing pains as more of a challenge, or more of a problem that we can solve, or something that we can knock out, then the days will go smoother. We'll be more encouraged to go ahead and get through that challenge so we can go to the next one.
Absolutely.
So we always give you all a call to action, and we always want to see how we're going to meet our goals better this week. Like, what are we going to do to improve meeting our goals? The same way life is a journey is the same way goals are a journey. We can say, this is what I want to do, and this is when I want to do it, and this is when I want it done. But there's a journey in that process. There's a process in that journey. So I just want everybody to write down a time that you failed at business, what happened, and what happens afterwards. After that, I want you to also write down, how did you restart? And then after you write all of that down, I want you to write down, what did you learn from the downtime? Because a lot of times we see this big hurdle, we see this big issue in front of us, and we're like, I failed. I can't see the end. I can't see the goal. I'm never going to get there. We start the negative talk. But there are things that happen during that time. You eventually restart, and you learn things from that time. You become wiser. You become smarter. You become more resilient. So these times, I want us to start looking at growing pains as good instead of bad. Those aches in those muscles, I remember my grandmother used to say, oh, your back hurts? That means you're growing. Great. That's how we need to think about it. You know what I mean? Like, something's hurting? Great. I'm getting ready to grow, you know? So I want us all to reflect on some things that happen, write them down, and look at how much you've grown. Appreciate it. Be thankful for the things that you have been through, and the things that have made you who you are today, because you wouldn't be you if you didn't go through those things.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to add, Imani?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty great way to wrap it up. And as we talk about often, making sure that you have at least one person who can come alongside you, because you won't always have that perspective. So, you know, have someone with a reservoir of perspective that they can lend to you when you need it. Because sometimes we're just so tired in our souls and need that. So I'm grateful that Brooke is that for me.
Yes, always have positive people around you. That's one thing I always say. Always have positive people around you. When you have people that are pessimistic, they keep you down that pessimistic lane. And we need to be able to see the light. We need to be able to see the light. So that light is always there, even though sometimes we don't think it is. So all you angels, make sure you write down your time that you failed, what happened after, how did you restart, and what did you learn? And Imani is going to do the same thing, and so am I. And we might give you a little briefing on the next episode, but we hope you all tune in to Resources in the Valley. And remember, you will get through this valley too. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
God got me, plant his seeds, let me breathe, cause I need him. Stay faithful, not hateful, I'm playful, cause he got me. He called me his angel, I'm flying to heaven. Just know that he sent me from